Okay, let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm very, very happy to be presenting and moderating this webinar. We're joined here by our members who will be presenting very interesting case studies and best practices on nature restoration. We're joined by Sara Carlsén from Boliden, Anastasia from Eldorado Gold, 𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗵 from DG and Environment, Professor Jose Martin from Complutense University of Madrid, and finally, Emily Ritchie from Transport and Environment. I'm 𝗀𝗶𝘲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. I'm the Health and Safety Officer here at Euromines, and I'm also joined by my director, 𝗻𝗶𝗀𝗰𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗃, who will be giving the welcoming remarks. So for the moment, I will give the floor to him so he can say good morning and thank you.
Thank you, Sophia, and a warm welcome from my side to this Green Week partner event on nature restoration in the mining sector. It's a big pleasure to host this event under the Green Week. We engage today with leading experts and policymakers in a dialogue that highlights some of the best practices when it comes to the nature restoration, the practices that are applied in the European mining industry, and the progress that we made in advancing on all of those taking care and nature restoration in the last decades. I would like to thank especially all of the speakers, the panelists, those who organized this event here, and also you listening and interacting with us through the chat so that we have a lively discussion also here this morning. So thank you again for all of you for joining. Thank you to the Commission for organizing the Green Week, and we are happy to be part of this success of the Green Week. Thank you, and back to you, Sophia.
Thank you very much, 𝗻𝗻. So I would also like to highlight that the aim of the webinar here is twofold. Firstly, as an industry, we would really like to showcase the best practices of nature restoration that exist within the mining sector, as well as bringing together different perspectives from policy, civil society, and academia. The webinar today will be structured into two parts. Firstly, the presentation of the three case studies from our members, followed by the panel discussion. So without further ado, I would like to move forward with our presentations, which all have great examples of nature restoration in the mining sector. So the first case study we will start off with is a video from Atalaya mining, and the case study is From Waste to Landscape, Geomorphic Restoration and Transition Planning at the Eliminatas Waste Dump in Spain, presented by Emilio Sanjuán.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to join this EU Green Week partner event. Today, I would like to share a practical case from Rio Tinto, a case that shows how a historical mining waste area can be transformed into a stable, functional, and revegetated landform. This is the story of the Eliminatas Waste Dam, from land use to land renewal. I will use this project as a concrete example of restoration in practice, not only restoration as an environmental obligation, but restoration as a technical, scientific, and strategic process. A process that connects historical legacy, geomorphic design, hydrology, stability, revegetation, and long-term land use. The presentation is structured in 4 parts. First, I will introduce Atalaya mining and Rio Tinto context. Second, I will explain the environmental challenge represented by the Eliminatas Dam. Third, I will describe the restoration strategy based on geomorphic landform design. And finally, I will share the key result and lesson learned. Rio Tinto is a place with more than 5,000 years of mining history. That history gives the site extraordinary value, but it also creates a responsibility to manage historical impact with modern standards. Let me begin with the company and the site. The scale and historical setting of Rio Tinto are essential to understand why this project matters. Atalaya Mining is a European copper producer. Rio Tinto is 100% owned by Atalaya. and we are listed in London and have a diversified shareholder base, including Spanish shareholders and international investors. Our purpose is simple but important: to produce the copper needed for the energy transition while operating responsibly in a historic mining district. Our portfolio is located mainly in the Iberian Pyrite Belt and other mining districts in Spain. Proyecto Rio Tinto is our flagship operation. It provides infrastructure, operational experience, and technical capacity to future development in the region. This matters because restoration is not isolated from mining strategy. It's part of the way we manage land risk and long-term value. This map shows why Rio Tinto is more than an insulated mine. This is a regional productive hub in one of the most important massive sulfide provinces in the world. In this context, managing historical waste and disturbed land is not a secondary use. It is the central to the future of responsible mining in the Pyrite Belt. Rio Tinto is an open pit copper mining and processing complex operating at full capacity. The project obtained its key permits in 2014 and has been producing since 2016. In 2025, the operation produced more than 50,000 tons of copper metal in concentrate. It also a site with certified management system for quality, environment, health and safety, and energy management. This aerial view shows the scale of the Rio Tinto complex, approximately 1,700 hectares, including Cerro Colorado, San Dionisio, Corta Atalaya, processing facility, waste rock areas, and tailing storage facility. The 𝗀𝗏𝗃 area was located within this complex, associated with historical material and with the Concordia Haul Road. The objective was not only to remove a problem, the objective was to rebuild a functional landscape. Let us now move to the environmental challenge. The 𝗀𝗏𝗃 area was not a conventional restoration site. It was a historical waste deposit with material capable of generating AMD. The 𝗀𝗏𝗃 dam was associated with the Concordia Haul Road and with historical materials containing mainly ilmenite. Therefore, the challenge was double. We have to deal with the material itself, and we had to redesign the landform. Before acting, we needed to understand the ground. The characterization campaign included 40 test pits and 50 samples taken at different depths. This was supported by field observation and laboratory analysis. This information was essential to define the volume, distribution, and behavior of the materials. On the challenge was defined, the question became very clear. What kind of restoration should we apply? The decision was to use a geomorphic approach, not a conventional engineering slope and berm geometry, but a landform designed to work with natural drainage process. Geomorphic landform design using 𝗍𝗶𝘀 and natural regrade aims to reproduce how stable natural catchment works. Instead of straight artificial slope, the design creates ridge, swells, and drainage pathways. The geomorphic design was also assessed from a geotechnical perspective. The calculated factors of safety improve when comparing geomorphic profile with conventional alternative. It can also improve physical stability and reduce long-term maintenance needs. The restoration strategy combines several complementary elements. First, removing and selling the ilmenite-rich deposit to reduce acid mine drainage risk. Second, constructing open limestone channels to provide additional geochemical control. And the system was designed to accommodate painful discare with peak flow above 15 liters per second. Finally, soil amendment and revegetation were applied to establish the surface and accelerate ecological recovery. I will know more from design to implementation and result. This is where the project becomes visible and where the scientific design is tested in the field. The first major result was the removal of more than 150,000 cubic meters of ilmenite-rich material. This material was excavated and transported under controlled conditions to an at-risk facility within the Rio Tinto mining complex. After removal, the area was sold and using shale material from the mine. This shale acts as a low permeability barrier and they limit infiltration and reduce interaction between rainfall and remain reactive materials. This slide shows the beginning of the geomorphic landforming, and this stage the work moved from earth moving to landscape reconstruction. The objective is not to impose a geometric shape. The objective is to build a terrain that can manage water, resist erosion, and involve natural over time. As the landforming progresses, the surface starts to develop rights, soils, and preferential drain paths. These elements are not decorative. They are a functional component of the design. In the final modeling, the restored area becomes a continuous landform. The road is integrated into the rehabilitated relief rather than remaining as a separate artificial structure. This is one of the most innovative aspects of the project. Runoff tracking was especially useful to verify that design worked as intended during the first intense rainfall events after regrading. The tracking confirmed the role of three-dimensional concavity. Water moved from ridge to swells, from wells to main channel, and from the main channel towards the final point. This is critical because in geomorphic restoration, success is not only what the landform looks like. Success is how the landform behaves when it rains. The 𝗀𝗁𝗃 concept refers to the convex concave finishing applied in ridge and west wells. This curvature avoids abrupt breaks, slope, and reduces erosive stress. In simple terms, 𝗀𝗁𝗃 finishing helps the landscape move smoothly from upper slope to drainage lines. The comparison between September 2021 and October 2024 clearly showed the scale of transformation. What was previously a degraded and artificial mining area has been reshaped into a current landform. This image is powerful because it shows that restoration is not an abstract concept. The comparison between February and December 2025 shows how the restoration continued to mature. Vegetation establishment is visible. The surface begins to integrate with the surrounding landscape. It's a process of construction, establishment, monitoring, and adaptation. The current status can be summarized in two words: sealed and revegetated. The area is no longer simple remediated waste deposit. It is becoming a functional landscape unit with controlled drainage, improved stability, and progressive ecological recovery. The monitoring sequence from June 2025, November 2025, and April 2026 show progressive consolidation. Early data and field observation are encouraged, but it's important to communicate this responsibly. The temporal scope is still limited. To conclude, the 𝗀𝗏𝗃𝗃 project demonstrates a transition from a derelict mining site to a restored landform that also incorporates a regional road. While the monitoring data show positive trends, we recognize that they represent an early temporal scope. This is why the value of the project lies not only in this result already, but also in the monitoring framework that will allow us to verify performance over time. For Atalaya Mining, this is not an isolated project. It is a demonstration project, a way to learn, to improve, and to integrate geomorphic restoration into Rio Tinto and future projects. The objective is clear: to ensure stability, to support ecological recovery, and to enable the transition toward new land use. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this case shows that mining restoration can be technically rigorous and ambitious. In a historic mining district like Rio Tinto, the challenge is not to erase the past. The challenge is to manage its responsibility, to reduce reduce risk, to rebuild landform function, and to create landscapes that are more stable, more resilient, and better prepared for the future. Thank you very much.
Excellent. What a very nice video. So next, I'm very happy to hand the floor to Sara Carlsén, Biodiversity Coordinator at Boliden. She's going to be presenting the case study, Mine Restoration on the Riverside, the restoration of the open pit mine in Langdal in northern Sweden.
Thank you so much, and I'm really happy to be here. Let's see if this works. There we go. Sorry about that. So for those of you who don't know Boliden, we're a Swedish-based mining and metals company. We're mainly based in the Nordics, but we do have one mine on Ireland and one in Portugal as well. And we have our base in the Boliden area where we started in 1924. And Boliden, I think, is quite unique in that we control the whole value chain from exploration to mining, all the way through concentrating and smelting as well. We have a commitment to biodiversity, which is one of our strategic focus areas, and that is to increase biodiversity in all regions where we operate by 2030 from a 2020 baseline. So basically reverse the declining trend within this decade. And we are doing so by following the mitigation hierarchy, which is to avoid, minimize, restore, and offset our impacts on biodiversity. And we track these changes with regional biodiversity metrics. So a short introduction to the area. The Boliden mine is located in a region close to the town of 𝗀𝗲𝘀𝗀𝗀 in northern Sweden. And in Boliden, that's where we opened our first mine in 1924. But it is developed to a number of cluster mines where the mill and tailings dam is located in Boliden. But the Langdal mine was one of these satellite mines, and it's located along the 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 River. And it was in operation between 67 and 99, and mining a variety of zinc, lead, gold, and silver. It started as an underground mine, but in 91, it was extended as an open pit mine that partially extended into the river and actually had the river slightly directed. So the southern banks rather had to be dug out to make place for the river to flow through, and the open pit was sealed in with an embankment, 700-meter long embankment. The mine was mothballed for 20 years until 2021, when restoration started. And this project took a lot of planning and was quite challenging. And it included basically reintegrating the open pit with the open pit lake with the river by tearing out the dam wall. We also decommissioned buildings and infrastructure, as well as placing contaminated materials in a sealed tip. So the river reintegration, the dam wall, as I said, was dug out and the materials placed within the open pits. And one of the major challenges here was sediment loading created during the works, sediment load to the river. And to mitigate this, we installed 2 layers of silk curtains, which was installed by divers, which managed to trap most of the sediments during the course of the works. There was also sheet piling in there in the walls that could actually, it was removed and could actually be recycled. And then continuously the water within the pit lake was neutralized with lime to neutralize the pH and bind metals. And the water was also gradually pumped out and replaced with river water all the time, while controlling that metal loadings to the river was kept to a minimum. On land, as I said, there was a bit of contaminated material. The waste rock was partially acid forming, and the inert materials could be placed inside the underground mine again, while the acid forming waste rock was placed in a tip, which was lined, then capped, and then covered with 1.8 meters of till. And the till could also be found on the site, on the existing footprint of the mine. And so here we have a time series of the 𝗀𝗲𝗀𝗀 mine. To the left, you see the original course of the river. To the left, you have the open pit, the water-filled open pit, and the slightly redirected river that has been dug out to the south. And to the right is what the 𝗀𝗲𝗀𝗀 mine looks like today when it's fully restored. So during the course of the project, with technical remediation, we continuously held dialogues with local communities and authorities about the kind of social and ecological values that we could create on this site. We also involved landscape architects and ecologists to draw up sketches and identify target habitats and species. And we have some of the plans for social values have been implemented, while others will be implemented in the future. But we have already
Sorry, Sara, I think there's a little problem with your audio, but I see you're unmuted. Just a moment while we have a tech.
Hey, I'm sorry, but can you hear me now?
Yes, it must have been your headphones. I had the same problem.
Yes, I'm so sorry about
Okay,
that.
no problem. All right, I'll give the floor
Yeah.
back to you. Thank you.
Yes. We do have future plans to restore the former office building and create pathways and signages and playgrounds. As I said, we also had selected several target habitats. One obviously is focused on river habitats, with creation of shallow shorelines and placement of rocks as habitat features, and stocking the river with trout after completed works, and as well as spawning beds for pike and grayling with gravel. We haven't completed all of these, but they are still in the future plans. And then on land, we have created we have done the initial work for plant establishment. Unfortunately, the topsoils were not saved when the mine opened, so we created a topsoil by composting a mix of wood chips and sewage sludge and spreading that very thin, about 2 centimeters. And then we used different seed mixes. On the steep slopes, we used a fast-growing grass seed mix, and on the other areas, we had a local meadow seed mix. So the meadows, the target we have here is a traditional hay meadow. It used to be a very common feature in the past, as hay was cut to feed cattle during the long winters in northern Sweden. It is now a very rare habitat, so this is a chance for us to recreate it. And we created it, as I said, by spreading local seed mixes, and we are now implementing a management regime with hay cutting. We also have plans to introduce late autumn sheep grazing with digital fences. For the forest, our target is a deciduous forest, which also is very rare in northern Sweden. It's mostly dominated by boreal production forests, both due to production, but also suppression of fire during many years. And the end target here is to create habitat for the white-backed woodpecker, which is a critically endangered species. And it does occur along the riverside, which is an ideal habitat. Like broadleaf forests along the riverside is an ideal habitat for them. So we have both restored existing woodlands surrounding the site, which we own, but we are also planting more forests on our site. We have also left quite a few exposed sandbanks. These have become habitats for sand martins. We have observed sand martins moving in already here, so that's very exciting. And we have an extensive aftercare and control program, so both with water sampling 4 times a year, both in the pit lake, recipient, ground, and surface water. We don't see any impact on the 𝗀𝗄𝗃 River, not during the works or at present. There is a slight elevation of metals in the surface water on the site, but that is expected to go down in the coming years. We have a biodiversity management plan to make sure that the target habitats are achieved over time. And we use an adaptive management approach where we visit the site each year to follow up on vegetation and adjust the management regime depending on what we see works. And I think that was it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Sara. That was very, very interesting. So now I'm very pleased to present Eldorado Gold. We have Anastasia, who's going to be presenting the case study on the Eldorado, on the Olympias large-scale reclamation project.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm pleased to share our experience and insights on this topic. I will present our work titled From Legacy Tailings to Parallel Rehabilitation, the Olympias Large-Scale Reclamation Program. In this presentation, I will show how we transform legacy mining footprints into restored and sustainable ecosystems. Sorry. Let me start with a brief overview of Eldorado Gold. The company operates internationally with assets in Canada, Greece, and Turkey. It currently has 4 operating mines and 2 additional projects which are under development, supported by a strong resource base and long mine life. The long-term perspective allows us to invest in sustainable practices and responsible environmental management. At the last, gold restoration is not something that happens at the end. It is integrated into operations from the beginning. During the progressive rehabilitation, we mean that we restore areas in parallel with the mining activities. The benefits of the parallel rehabilitation are the reduction of environmental impacts in real time, the enhancement of biodiversity, and the strong trust with the local communities. In practice, progressive rehabilitation involves 4 key steps. At first, the soil sampling and the geochemical analysis determine the appropriate remediation method. After the removal of old tailings and contaminated soils and haulage at environmental safe disposal site. The third step is the restoration of the old landscape before the mining activity and the improvement of soil conditions with compost and wood chips materials. The last step is the installation of vegetation with native species from our nursery that is in 𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀 area, and the continuous monitoring of vegetation, the soil, and also the surface water and groundwater around the area to confirm the effectiveness of the project. In this slide, you can see the case study for 𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀's mining legacy areas. At 𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, there were 4 old disposal areas. As you see, the 3 sites have already fully restored, while 1 is still in progress. The old 𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 TMF, it is the biggest area that it is under rehabilitation now. This represents one of the largest remediation programs in Greece. To date, more than 5 million tons of old tailings and contaminated soils have been removed at a safe environmentally disposal area. Around 50% of legacy areas at 𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 have already been rehabilitated. The importance of at these large-scale projects are the organization, the support of modern equipment, and the strict monitoring after the completion of the project. In this slide shows the restoration of the old 𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 stockpile in 𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀. The area is about 3.2 hectares. Hundreds of thousands of tons of old 𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 and contaminated soils were removed, and the natural landform was restored. The area is now covered with healthy soil and vegetation with native species, and it is included in the surrounding environment. In this slide and the next slide, it is the same area from the different view. These images clearly demonstrate the transformation we moved from highly degraded landscapes to restored areas with vegetation and ecological function. This highlights the effectiveness of our rehabilitation approach. The other area is an old 𝗻𝗲𝗰𝗲 waste rock stockpile. It is about 3 hectares. At 𝗻𝗲𝗰𝗲 area, about 500,000 tons of waste rock were removed. The material was reused in construction for the new disposal site, the safe environmental disposal site, and the site was subsequently restored. Now we are in the stage of installation of vegetation. The third project is the 𝗿𝗿𝗱𝗀𝗃 arsenopyrite disposal area, which now it is a nursery. You see the transformation of a previously contaminated area. The area is about 10 hectares, and today it is cleaned, and it provides employment opportunities, and also we provide plants free of charge to the municipality and other stakeholders. The last project is the biggest project, the 𝗿𝗿𝗀𝗃𝗃 tailing management facility. The area is about 30 hectares, and the half area already restored. For about 4 million tons of old tailings and contaminated soils have been removed. After the completion, the project will be delivered to the local community. So the restoration is ongoing. The removal of tailings is ongoing, and the next steps are the soil coverage and the installation of vegetation, and the creation of a wetland, and the restatement of water stream inside the area. Another case study with parallel rehabilitation is 𝗀𝗁𝗃 mining facilities. 𝗀𝗁𝗃 is a project. It is under development. There we apply techniques such as hydroseeding method to stabilize the slopes of the mining facilities. We use a mixture of seeds and other materials, mulch, fertilizer, and glue. It is used to apply to promote rapid vegetation growth. These methods help the prevention of erosion and promotes faster ecosystem recovery. The results are already visible, with vegetation gradually reestablishing and the landscape improving. This demonstrates the success of parallel rehabilitation in practice. One of the most important result is the return of biodiversity, the creation of functional ecosystems, the development of plant communities, and the enhancement of habitats. And finally, the nature gradually takes over the restoration process. In these slides, you can see the post-mining land use plan for the 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 mines. Our strategy goes beyond environmental restoration. It includes a lot of strategy actions, social infrastructure, cultural heritage, and long-term land use planning. We aim to create value for both the environment and the local community. In these slides, you can see the plan for 𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 TMF. The plan includes an ecological park with sports and leisure activities, routes and viewing points, and other sports and leisure activities at the tailings area. The future vision for the Olympias area includes the development of this park. This will offer recreational activities and observation points, and it is a way to return the land to society in a meaningful and sustainable way. This is for me. Thank you very much, and I am waiting for the questions.
Thank you very much. Very interesting as well. So I wanted to really thank all of the speakers for their presentations. I also wanted to highlight that restoration is built into the life cycle of the mines. As noted by Sara from Boliden, even after the restoration is fully complete, they'll continue water testing into the future. And this really highlights that a mine is really a lifetime commitment, even after closure. Also, 2 out of the 3 projects, the Atalaya and Eldorado, are restorations of historical sites. So in this case, the operators are in fact restoring older waste areas. Also, I wanted to highlight that Boliden had very good examples of engaging with communities around, specifically consulting for the targeted animal and plant species. So yeah, I can't thank you enough for your inputs. And I'm very pleased to move into the roundtable discussion part of our webinar. So our esteemed 5 panelists will delve into the challenges and opportunities, their unique perspectives on regulatory frameworks, and also the collaborations that industry and policy makers can really embark on together to enable and foster nature restoration. So let's get right into the panel. In fact, if possible, I would like to start off with some questions specifically to Sara and Anastasia. For the industry, what would you say are your really main opportunities and challenges? These can be technologically or regulatory that mining companies face when implementing these sort of large scale restoration projects generally, and also under current EU environmental legislation. So Sara, I'd like to know, because this was sort of an always ongoing mine. And then after, Anastasia, if you could give us a bit more input about what it's like to reclaim a legacy mine.
Absolutely. So one of our top challenges, I would say, is that from older mine sites, we haven't saved topsoil when we started the mine, and without topsoil, revegetation is very slow. So we have this challenge of basically having to import or create topsoils, but also habitats in northern Sweden, they're very nutrient poor. So we have to get the right balance. So it's both sort of, getting the right soils, getting the right local seeds. Usually commercially, it's like local seeds are not that available. And yeah, and then just the knowledge base for how to create, for example, a hay meadow, or if it's reindeer lichen habitats. It's all very slow. We have very short summer seasons. So I would say those are our main challenges, and then applying that over really large areas. Sometimes we have obviously hundreds of hectares of areas that we have to restore. So building that knowledge, we are doing that continuously, but it's very interesting.
Thank you. Indeed, it's very interesting. So, Anastasia, would you say some of the challenges are the same or different? I know it's two very, very different climates.
Yes. Based on our experience, the main challenge are both regulatory and technical. There are multi-mile permitting procedures, strict monitoring requirements, and the continuous need to demonstrate that rehabilitation measures are delivering the expected result. At the same time, these projects involve significant technical complexity. At our sites, as Olympia's example, rehabilitation includes managing millions of tons of legacy waste materials and reshaping the landscape, with one of the main challenges being the availability of suitable topsoils. These activities require careful planning and strong coordination for all these works. Another challenge is that ecosystem recovery is not always predictable and requires long-term monitoring. And it is a result that you can't see directly, but you need a lot of time. This is for me.
Thank you. Wow, but it seems like despite these challenges, a lot of progress has been made. And as a geoscientist myself, I must say I feel that often policymakers and the general public, there's a real gap in understanding the 20, even 30-year timelines that nature restoration takes. If you think about reforestation, for example, it starts with a grassland and then shrubs and then trees. It's 30 years. And so when we think about restoration, many policymakers will be retired in this time. So I know that this can be a particular challenge. But then I'd like to follow up, sorry, and then we'll get to some of the other panelists. The EU has very, very strong regulatory frameworks and is really, really great at fostering restoration. Of course, long term, we want healthy soils and grasslands and forests. Either Sara or Anastasia, so what have been policy measures or regulatory frameworks that have been helpful in enabling these restoration projects? And with that being said, is there any room for improvement?
Sorry, yes. Our experience shows that rehabilitation is most effective in parallel with the operation of mining. Mining companies should be able to apply the most environmentally effective methods and evaluate them based on measurable ecological outcomes. For example, our environmental monitoring program with 700 points allows us to verify and assess rehabilitation result in practice. Trust and transparency are also essential for any industrial policy that takes environmental responsibility serious. One of the key lessons we have learned is that rehabilitation should be planned from the beginning, and we must have the baseline studies and the initial picture before the mining activity, because we need this to follow the properly methodology and to know what we want to reach in which situation.
Excellent. Thank you both so much. This is very insightful. Moving on, I would like to direct a question to 𝗀𝗂𝗃. If you're there, hello. So, after hearing some of these opportunities and challenges that mining operators face, how do you think that policymakers can better support the rehabilitation of historical or legacy mining sites, particularly where environmental impacts predate modern regulatory frameworks? So, as building off of what Anastasia just said, oftentimes rehabilitation is in the very, very planning stages of the beginning of a mine before extraction even begins. But when you're doing rehabilitation on much, much older sites, there are different challenges at play. So where do you think EU policymakers can support this restoration?
Thank you, Sophia. I think that the current legal framework really enables this kind of restoration projects, because in addition to the long-standing nature legislation that we have had in the EU for many decades now, I'm speaking of the Birds and Habitats directives. We also now for 2 years have had the nature restoration regulation in place that specifically sets the restoration targets, and the mining installations that are not in use anymore, I think they are a very good area for restoration projects. So the regulators can help by setting the right regulatory framework, and we have it in place both on the EU level as well as in many cases on the national, regional and local level. But in addition to that, I think there is a room to set different sorts of platforms for the stakeholders to talk to each other. By stakeholders, I mean the operators of the mines, but also the local regulators, the local citizens, the NGOs. So by allowing this kind of platforms where different stakeholders can speak openly and transparently to each other, I think it really enables the cooperation. In addition to that, of course, financing is an important issue and enabler, because we know that neither the public sector nor the private sector has enough on its own enough funding resources. So by combining this different funding opportunities together, both from the public and private sector, I think it's an important enabling factor to contribute to this kind of restoration projects. And specifically on the EU level, the LIFE Fund has been instrumental in financing all sorts of restoration measures. We are not sure what will be the future form of the LIFE program. The Commission has proposed its budget for the next 7 years. The Commission has proposed integrating the LIFE type of measures into 2 main funding streams, so the national and regional partnership programs on one hand, and in the European Competitiveness Fund on the other hand. But we intend for this kind of measures to continue to be funded. So I think that these are 3 main possibilities, enablers for the regulators. So the regulatory framework which we have in place, providing the platforms for open conversation, and funding. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you very much. Excellent answer, and I'm very happy to hear. So I would like to move, I'd like to ask Jose, and as a reminder to the audience, he's a professor in geomorphology and has quite an extensive background in nature restoration. And so I would like to ask you, what do you see in your experience as the most important factor in achieving a successful long-term nature restoration project, especially following mining activities?
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Euromines, for this opportunity. Well, I believe that I would say the critical factor is that we need to guarantee the physical and chemical stability of the mine waste. I mean, without that, we cannot move forward. So I will say, in Australia, they say safe, stable, and non-polluting landforms is compulsory. From that, we have to move to soil health. I believe is critical. The most obvious component we see in a landscape is vegetation, but without stable landforms and without soil health, we will have a successful restoration. But I will say that this is not enough. Okay. And we are, in my opinion, in a global scale, we are still there. But we have to move. We have to move to the integration of the mine landscapes, the mine landforms, into the surrounding terrain. I am not saying that we have to erase the legacy of the mines. This is an activity we can all be proud of that. They have an historical legacy, an important history to tell to the future. However, mining is a human activity that creates a profound transformation of the landscape. It's one of the, say, it's different from others, like agriculture. In order to extract the minerals, we need. This is unintended. This is not is unintended consequence of mining, but we create a profound transformation on the landscape. And it happens that most mines operate in rural or natural environments, sensitive landscapes of high ecological value. So we have to move quickly into a better integration, blending with the surroundings.
That's incredibly insightful. Thank you so much for those inputs. So I have another question to sort of follow up. As an expert, and in your view, what indicators do you think policymakers as well as industry should be using to measure the sort of long-term success of restoration projects?
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying this. Although the use of indicators is well established, let's say, in the literature, in the regulations, I believe that it's not general. generally in the industry still. So let me say first that we need to, between the industry, the regulators, and the academia, we have to move to really implement measuring everything, to see if our restoration is successful. So related with my previous answer, I talk about safe, stable, not polluting landforms. We have to, especially in Europe, we have to increase the measurement of erosion. How many tons per hectare per year are our mine or rehabilitated mines are eroding? Definitely water and soil indicators. I will not specify them, and also all type of ecological indicators we are used to. But we should not stay there. We should move forward as well. I would like to introduce that we should incorporate social and economic indicators that we are going to get after the mine, so that we are guaranteeing that we leave a positive legacy. So this is also, it's not only, I know it's not totally related with your question of just indicators, but we cannot, in my opinion, and I believe this is already in the discussion, we should not just stay with physical, chemical, or ecological indicators. Mining is a temporary use of the land, and there is an incredible future to be achieved in those mine lands. So we should move forward to economical, social indicators. Not sure if this is useful, hopefully.
No, it's incredibly useful. Thank you so much. Very interesting. Before we move to Emily, I have a question for you from civil society. I want to hear from Sara and Anastasia. How I know Boliden and Eldorado consult with civil society. But how important are the social and economic indicators to you that Jose mentioned? Because it's obvious we measure erosion, we measure water input use and chemical status. But this second portion that Jose mentioned, I would like to hear from you both.
I could come in, if that's all right. Yes, it is very important to us. Although I would have with a disclaimer that most of our mine sites are like really far away from communities. We don't have that many people living in the regions where we mine. But obviously, it is still really important. The indicators that we measure at present is the social acceptance of our mining activity within the local community through surveys sent out to the local communities. But we are developing more indicators as we speak when it comes to social and economic. But obviously we want the land to be to contribute to social sustainability. I would say in northern Sweden, for most of our sites, that is very closely related to returning of the land to the indigenous Sami communities. So that is usually our first priority, that we're able to restore reindeer grazing and that we have good relationship and acceptance within the Sami communities. I could probably say something more about ecological indicators, but I'll let Anastasia come in.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yes, absolutely, no problem. I'm following up from Jose's last point that outside of the physical and chemical indicators that we use to measure restoration, we also should incorporate social and economic indicators. And I know that Eldorado does this on some level, but I would like to know a little bit more about what sort of social indicators or economic that you integrate into the mine restoration plan.
Yes, we have a grievance mechanism for all people from a local community. If we have some questions or some problems with the mine, there is a community office here in the area for all villages. There are the community of interest committee that we have in a continuous basis a lot of meetings for discussions about the mining activity and consultations with the communities directly. We have submitted at the beginning of the project an environmental and social impact assessment. So we have included in this study all these indicators. We conducted an extensive environmental and social impact assessment that I told, and we ran through 300 engagement in the communities for the project.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. Last but certainly not least, Emily from Transport and Environment. I'd really like to know, as someone who works with civil society, how do the case studies presented today compare to other restoration efforts you have seen, be it in other sectors or even outside of Europe?
Thanks so much. And yes, great question. I mean, I think what we heard today, a lot of this presents some, real best practice in line with what we can see across the world. Maybe I just wanted to start by picking out a few things that really stood out for me from the case studies. So I think with the Rio project in Atalaya, it was really great to hear about the sort of that monitoring framework that's in place. And similarly with the Boliden project, hearing about that emphasis on the mitigation hierarchy, something we're always keen to stress on, really the kind of avoidance in a first step, and then working your way through that. And again, as Sara, you stressed again on that sort of the continuous dialogue with stakeholders where possible. And then finally, with the Eldorado project, I think that also builds on Jose's point around kind of the importance of seeing mining waste as part of this, and hearing about the work to implement filtered tailings, really sort of best practice. It's great to hear. Maybe some other things that we've sort of, often see as really best practice based on projects we've seen. I think first of all would build on that point around the indicators. So really looking at how we're measuring the rehabilitation, and particularly when we're talking about biodiversity, looking at those commitments on no net biodiversity loss, and where possible monitoring key biodiversity indicators. I think it's also, some of what we've heard already, it's really positive to see approaches that look at habitat restoration and rehabilitation in general across the life cycle of a project. So really sort of from pre-planning through to closure, and particularly seeing that sort of progressive rehabilitation that doesn't just start at the point of closure. And then finally, again, sort of building on that point flagged by Jose on management waste. I think it's really great to see kind of the proper waste management combined with rehabilitation, so with dry stacking and backfilling of waste, but also looking at where we can remine or reprocess some of the waste, whether that's to create byproducts or for other manufacturing purposes, for construction, or whether you can actually be finding other minerals of value in that process, either through a legacy tailing site that can be reprocessed or alongside an existing process. And this is something that, you know, there are a few examples of this which are really great practice. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All of the answers were incredibly insightful. Thank you so much. So I would like to actually move on to a sort of second round of questioning, and we'll go in the same order. So I'd like to hear again from Sara and Anastasia. Sort of what lessons from your restoration projects would you like policymakers to consider when shaping future EU environmental and industrial policies?
I could start if that's okay. So I think the 𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗃 mine, obviously it was open in a different era when it comes to regulation, and we are unsure if that kind of project would get permits. So close to a river, as it were. But I think one of the lessons we'd really want to highlight is that we did manage to run the mine and restore back to nature with high nature values than was there initially, because most of it was production forest, without actually impacting the river ecosystems. So I think I guess that's our message, that with the right mitigation, with the right avoidance and mitigation measures, it is possible to carry out projects in sensitive areas with very small impacts, and even possibly positive impacts with nature restoration.
Thank you. It really is a shining example of a best practice, this one, especially considering how old the mine is. Anastasia?
Yes. With some words, I think the key lessons are early planning, science-based decision making, and flexibility in implementation. So, as I told before, the parallel rehabilitation with mining operation is one of the lessons that has good results. The monitoring of the rehabilitation and without the baseline studies and the scientific evidence, it is very difficult to achieve meaningful and successful rehabilitation outcomes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to hear from 𝗀𝗄𝗃, again from DG Environment. So, in your experience or in your perception, what types of collaboration between the industry and public authorities have proven the most effective in terms of delivering successful restoration output?
So I think that transparency is very important. There needs to be a recognition from the sector that mining can have some major negative effects on biodiversity. and also other elements of environment. And there needs to be a recognition and willingness to minimize this impact and work together with the communities to minimizing these impacts and ideally integrating biodiversity related measures during the operation of the mines and also after the commissioning of the project. And I think on the side of the regulators and the stakeholders, the local communities, and also on higher levels, there needs to be a recognition that indeed mines have negative impacts, but they, on one hand, provide vital minerals, which we all need in the for the economy, for our societies, for functioning in the modern society. And at the same time, there is an opportunity for the mines to contribute to biodiversity at the operational stage of the mine. These kind of installations often provide habitats for many endangered or rare species, such as pioneer species that often don't find the right kind of sites in the landscape around the mines, because it can be intensively used for agriculture or for other reasons. So sometimes these mines offer really vital habitats and breeding sites for this species. Also, the concept of this transitional or temporary habitats, it's very interesting, and many mining projects they offer this type of habitats to the species. And also after the commissioning of the projects, there is a really big opportunity to restore these projects, as we have seen with the case studies today, to really interesting spots for biodiversity. So I do not want to mention any specific projects, but I think generally there is really a great opportunity for the sector to work together with the regulators and the communities to minimize the impacts, then provide these opportunities during the operational phase, and then there is a whole range of opportunities once the projects are no longer in use. And we have some examples, for example, of live projects that were carried out in the operating facilities, and also after the projects were decommissioned. So I think there is already a great wealth of examples, but I think there is still room to work together even more intensely to find even better solutions for the future. Thank you.
That's very insightful. I do want to note that typically restoration and the post-closure care is already built into the life cycle of a mine, and I agree fully with you that transparency is the only way to go. And via regulations, mining companies are pretty transparent about their plans for the current and future works. So I would like to ask a question actually to Jose. So from moving away from policy into a bit of a scientific perspective, what aspects of the restoration projects that were presented today do you think are particularly innovative or particularly significant?
Well, any of them, they have at least one topic that was really significant or innovative. In the first example we saw in Rio Tinto, I would say geomorphic rehabilitation was highly innovative. It is still significant. It is still innovative in Europe. In Europe, we are starting to adopt such a technique, which is actually included in the base available techniques for waste management. But that was particularly interesting. I really like for the second study, case study, the river reintegration. That was one issue, one topic that I raised in my first intervention. How to integrate? You are operating close to a river. How I will blend? How I will integrate with the river? That was innovative. That was clever. That was really good, and it's still not very common in Europe or all over the world. And the third case study, it has really nice examples about another topic I already talked, so soil health. So I believe the three of them show really good examples how the industry can make a really good job. And incorporating is interesting because they were incorporating technical and scientific advanced methods and techniques.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to ask a question to Emily to discuss a bit more about sort of social engagement. How do you think that mining companies engage more effectively? From your experience, what's the most effective way that mining companies can engage with local communities as well as NGOs throughout the restoration project? Basically to ensure that the outcomes reflect the local environmental as well as the social priorities.
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the, I mean, it might sound basic, but one of the main things is just really engaging with local communities and others right from the outset. So sort of, from the pre-permitting stages, and really ensuring that is sort of continuous dialogue throughout. So from the beginning through to closure. And then I think there's a lot on sort of what that engagement should look like to ensure that it really is as effective as possible. So, of course, ensuring that that's accessible, culturally sensitive, and I think also that, the right people are being contacted and not just sort of one person that might seem to represent a whole group, but that really efforts have been made to reach out to a wide range of those affected communities, workers, rights holders. I think, there a tool that can be used is 𝗀𝗻𝗃, the Initiative for Responsible Mining Assurance, which sets out real best practice on community engagement, and particularly in this regard. Maybe one example from outside of Europe that is often seen as very positive in terms of the community engagement is the Albemarle Kings Mountain mining site in North Carolina, with really quite positive ongoing community engagement there, including on sort of rehabilitation plans. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to, if possible, have a bit of a roundtable from each speaker of their thoughts on the discussion today. Maybe we can start with Sara.
Yes. I think overall, sort of my impression is that, in mine closure, mining companies have an opportunity to contribute to creating habitats that are of value to the local biodiversity. I think I would also I really like the points that Anastasia has made about, starting to plan early, progressive restoration, and that sort of thing, and also building knowledge as you go. I do think that having a very big plan that is static or, deciding on methodologies very early can be a bit dangerous. I'm very much for the adaptive methodologies, because technologies and best practices do.
Oh, Sarah, sorry, we just lost your sound.
I'm sorry.
That's
You hear me
okay.
now?
Yes, we lost you at how you felt about adaptive technologies.
Right. Yes, I think having a very sort of
No, I think maybe it's the microphone of your headphones that isn't connecting to the computer. No, but don't worry. Do you mind if we hear from Anastasia for a moment? Okay.
Yes. Finally, I believe that the most important for good results of rehabilitation are the baseline studies at the first of mine, the research and tested plots in the field to determine the methodology that you have to follow after the monitoring. And in parallel, you need a lot of engagement with the local communities about the post-closure plan after the completion of the operation of the mining. And trust and transparency for the good picture for the company in the local communities in general.
Excellent.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I'm glad it's working.
I'm sorry about that. Not sure where I was cut off, but I wanted to say something about adaptive technologies. And there's absolutely a point to having an early plan and an idea what methodologies to use. But I want to stress that the best available knowledge and practices are constantly developing through research and us building test cases and so on. So I think focusing more on outcomes rather than exactly how we are going to do things, and then constantly going back and see, did this work, or otherwise we could implement it in a different way.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I think it's very important that we understand the needed flexibility within restoration projects, and also I think in life, I think it's an important lesson to have. 𝗀𝗻𝗂𝗃, would you mind sharing some of your takeaways?
Yes, I think it was a very interesting exchange of good practices, views, and opinions, and I am very pleased to see that the mining sector is taking the restoration so seriously, and they are going even beyond what is legally necessary, and I think it's very important because we need the continuous operation of the mines in Europe. We will need more projects in future to meet the demand for the minerals. So I think this kind of best practice examples can be very encouraging and could help future projects also to, on one hand, maybe get smoother through the permitting process and get a better acceptance of the regulators and the stakeholders. So yes, very pleased to hear all these interesting examples, and I hope that in the future we will have more opportunities to share the cases of the best practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent points. Jose?
Yeah, I will actually connect with this reflection we just listened from the regulator sides. I believe that with the 3 case study we saw today and with many more we all know, is demonstrated that the industry made an amazing and a huge advance in the last years. I have been privileged to follow the sector for the last 30 years, and I saw an amazing advance on how we are. I mean, the industry, the academia, the regulators, the society, we are all prepared to have a really, really good job by getting the goods from the mine and then leaving a positive legacy. However, as you all know, I am not going to say anything very original, but we have to make still a big effort to communicate to the European society that there is no reason to fear, to have fear about mining. The perception that the European society has about mining is more connected with not good examples in the very past, but there is no reason today to oppose a mine that is going to operate in any region in Europe. Let's say in Spain we have now new projects everywhere in Europe, and we still have a big opposition by society, and we have to communicate that we need metals, we need the minerals, we need all type of resources from a geopolitical point of view, giving the society this sense of Europe. We need those resources, and there is no reason to fear mining.
Thank you so much for those fantastic inputs. And I agree. I think the examples presented today are really, really the best practices. It shows that we can perform extraction and restore the nature to the same, if not better level than previously. It's really great. And so, Emily, I would like also to hear some of your sort of concluding remarks or engagement with the case studies and our discussion today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I would agree. It's really great to see a lot of the progress that's being made. We know that the technologies exist to ensure safe environmental management of mining sites and safe management of the mining waste. I think what is really key now is to ensure that we do have kind of the strong regulatory framework and incentives to ensure that those best practices and the best practice technologies can really scale and be implemented across Europe, as we're seeing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would really, I would like to really, really thank everyone today for their thoughts and perspective. I'd also like to have some talk. I would also like to talk about that these restoration projects and their sort of license to operate. It seems as if the ecological, the biological, and the social aspects of these projects are already taken into account. And I want to stress again and repeat what I said, that a mine is for life. It's a constant project that will be monitored even after closure. And it's really great to see that operators will always be working and improving and ensuring that they don't cause any harm to nature or society as a whole, while also providing this very important different mineral resources. So with that being said, I would like to extend a big thanks to all of the speakers, as well as to the audience, for your attention. And I'm really looking forward to another discussion we can have about this next year. Also, I would also really like to thank the Commission for enabling us to have this partner event and hosting the EU Green Week in general. It's really, really a great initiative on the Commission side. Okay, so with that,
Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to thank you all so much for coming. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. I hope you learned something. And I hope that we can all see you back here next week for the next partner event. Excuse me, next year for the next partner event.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.